The more intense the hatred, the nearer it brings us to the loathed rival. Everything it suggests to one, it suggests equally to the other, including the desire to distinguish oneself at all costs. The brother enemies therefore always follow the same paths, which only increases their fury. They remind us of the two aldermen in Don Quixote, who run over the mountains braying in search of a lost donkey. Their imitation is so good that the two companions constantly rush up to one another, believing that they have found the lost beast. But the beast is no longer alive. The wolves have devoured it. Cervantes' allegory transposes the sufferings and vanity of double mediation into an ambiguous comic key. Novelists see little value in romantic individualism, which, despite vain efforts to hide it, is always a product of opposition. Modern society is no longer anything but a negative imitation, and the effort to leave the beaten paths forces everyone inevitably into the same ditch. Each novelist has described this failure, the mechanism of which is repeated in the smallest details of daily existence. Take, for example, the walk along the front taken by the ladies and gentlemen on holiday at Baalbek. All these people pretending not to see so as to let it be thought that they were not interested, but covertly watching for fear of running against the people who were walking beside or coming towards them, did, in fact, butt into them, became entangled with them, because each was mutually the object of the same secret attention, veiled beneath the same apparent disdain. Double or reciprocal mediation enables us to complete certain descriptions sketched in the first chapter. We observed Madame de Renal copying his desire for a tutor on an imaginary desire of Valinod's. This imagination is the result of a completely subjective anguish. Valinod never considered making Julian his children's tutor. It was just a stroke of genius that made the old rogue of a father say, "We have a better offer." No one had made any such offer. He is the first to be surprised when he learns that the mayor is interested in his good-for-nothing son. Yet a little later we find Valinod suggesting to Julian that he enter his employ. Is Stendhal confusing the Valinod of Madame de Renal's imagination with the real Valinod who hasn't given a thought to Julian? Stendhal is not confusing anything. Like Cervantes, he wants to show the contagious nature of metaphysical desire. Renal thought he was imitating Valinod's desire, and now Valinod is imitating Renal's desire. The situation is now inextricable. Even if the whole world were to band together in order to convince Madame de Renal of the truth, he would still refuse to accept it. The businessman in him has always been suspicious of Valinod's intentions with regard to Julian. He is not likely to doubt them now when events have confirmed his false intuition. Reality springs from the illusion and provides it with a misleading guarantee. It is by an analogous process that peoples and politicians blame each other, with the greatest possible insincerity, for the conflicts between them. In double mediation, the metamorphosis of the object is common to both partners. We can see in it the fruit of a strange negative collaboration. Bourgeois thus do not need to, quote, go over their proofs, end of quote, as Rimbaud would say. They gaze at them every day in the scornful or envious eyes of their fellows. The opinion of a friendly neighbor can be overlooked, but the involuntary confession of a rival permits no doubt. Whatever Julian was worth had nothing to do with his early successes. Those who made his career for him had neither real interest in him nor sincere affection for him. They cannot even appreciate what the young man can do for them. It is their rivalry which provides Julian with increases in salary and future prospects, and it is this rivalry which gains him admittance to the Hotel de la Mole. There is as much difference between the real Julian and the Julian over whom the two worthies of Verrières argue as there is between the barber's basin and the helmet of Mambrino. But the nature of the difference has changed. The illusion is no longer humorous as in Don Quixote, and strangely enough, for that reason, it is taken more seriously. The true bourgeois believes only in disagreeable platitudes. He even makes the disagreeable platitude the criterion of all truth. In double mediation, it is not that one wants the object, but that one does not want to see it in someone else's hand. Like all other elements of a universe that the bourgeois would like to be completely positive, the transfiguration of the desired object itself has become negative. The phenomenon of double mediation makes it possible to interpret a particularly puzzling passage in the second part of Don Quixote. Altisidora, the Duchess maid who was able to mystify Don Quixote so easily, pretends to die and then to come to life again, and she describes to the onlookers her stay in the underworld. I arrived at the gate where I found a dozen devils playing ball, all wearing doublet and hose. They were wearing tabards with Flemish points and cuffs the same, leaving 4 finger lengths of arms showing so that their hands would appear bigger. Their rackets were of fire. But what astonished me most was that they were using books instead of balls, and these books were filled with air and stuffing. A new and original idea, but it wasn't that so much that made me gape, as the fact that although it would be natural for those who won to be happy and those who lost to be sorry, everybody was grumbling and grousing and cursing. There was something else which surprised me too. After the first volley, the ball was of no more use, so that with every strike, the number of old and new books grew astonishingly. This devil's game of tennis symbolizes perfectly the reciprocal character which imitation assumes in double mediation. The players are opposed but alike and even interchangeable, for they make exactly the same movements. The ball they hit back and forth to one another represents the oscillation of desire between the subject-mediator and the mediator-subject. The players are partners, but they agree only to disagree. No one wants to lose, and yet, strangely, there are only losers in that game. Quote, everyone was grumbling and grousing and cursing, end of quote. As we know, each one holds the other responsible for the misfortune which falls upon him. This is truly double mediation. Equal cause of suffering for all. It is a sterile conflict from which the players, who have come together of their own accord, cannot withdraw. Altisidora's account is a transparent allegory aimed at Don Quixote, for it is to Don Quixote that the young girl is talking. It is this, moreover, which gives the passage its enigmatic character. The story does not seem to belong in the novel of Don Quixote any more than, quote, the curious impertinent, end of quote. It is hard to see the connection between the sublime chivalric folly and the sordid passion of the infernal players. But the connection clarifies precisely the metaphysical theory of desire and the inevitable transition from external to internal mediation. In this curious tale, Cervantes ironically affirms the unity of triangular desire. All initiated desire, no matter how noble and inoffensive it appears at the beginning, gradually drags its victims down into the infernal regions. The solitary and distant mediation of Don Quixote is followed by double mediation. The partners in the game of tennis are never less than 2, but their number can increase indefinitely. Altisidora says vaguely that she saw a dozen devils. From being double, reciprocal mediation could become triple, quadruple, multiple, until finally it affects the whole society. And the rapid play of the rackets made of fire symbolizes the prodigious acceleration of the metaphysical process when one reaches the gates of hell, the final stages of mediation.